Welcome back to the Off the Tools podcast with your hosts, Jimmy Hong and Joshua Grootenboer. Today, we're going to be taking a look into how we're going to be starting off our businesses in the new year just super powerfully and maybe with some goals that are actually going to bring us closer to where we want to be. Jimmy, I think to start here, probably the biggest things that we should be kind of identifying for everybody is, just how to set a proper goal, especially when it comes to this space, because goal setting is different, in so many different verticals. So what do you think, I guess, are the elements of a good goal?
Yeah, when I think back to when we were running our businesses and setting goals around this time, I think just having all your numbers ready to go and knowing what those are, especially tracked. If you don't have it tracked, it's going to be really tough because now you're just kind of guessing. I would say making sure you have an idea of, how many workers do you have? Start there. How much work could you take on per month? And just look based off of what you did in the last year. And then how many more crews can you take on top of that, right? Because then from there, it's okay, cool. If you can take on, let's say, 100K a month from where you're at, then minimum you need to be booking 100K. So if you have those numbers, and what are those numbers? It's you need to know your revenue goal. You need to know how many estimates to hit that revenue goal, right? With your close rate. Know your close rate. Also just making sure you know how many you need per month. And I think just one of the biggest things too is making sure once you have that goal, you have it all written out so it makes sense and base it off of how much you can do by production, right? Because if you only did 30K a month and you're hey, no, I want to do 100K, it's can you really do that based off of your hiring systems, how many people you can bring on to do so? Is it realistic? But I think just having your numbers ready to go is probably the number one thing to actually plan out accordingly to do a SMART goal. Right, because if you don't have that, I think it's game over.
Yeah, and for everybody listening here, Jimmy said a SMART goal, and a SMART goal is it's an acronym, right? And it's S, specific; M, measurable; A, actionable; R, realistic; and T, there's some sort of timeline associated with it. So, when you're setting your goals at the beginning of the year here, all of these things are important. It's not even necessarily the revenue number you want to do, but it's okay, when do you want to hit these milestones during the year too? Because it's if you want to do $1 million for the year, well, guess what? That means you're on pace by June to do 500K.
Yeah.
Because the action in which that's going to be required during different portions of the year is going to be different depending on what you're shooting for. So if you're only sold at 300 for the year at June, you got a lot of legwork based on your goal if you want to hit that mill by the end of the year.
Yeah, I think you said something super interesting there too, around if you're pacing, right? It's how often are you looking at your numbers month by month, week by week? Are you doing all the things to make sure you're hitting the right amount of estimates, right? If you need to do 30 estimates to close, I don't know, close 20 of them, how close or how far away are you, right? And then figuring out, okay, well, if you're off it, why are we not there, right? What's going on and how can we do things differently to make sure you actually hit the 30 estimates, and everything else should also fall into it. But also one of the most underused metrics, I think, is also just making sure you hedge everything. Right? That's what we did in our business, especially if you're trying to hit $1 million a month. Don't hedge for 12 months. We know there's a slow season. We're kind of in and out, right? So it's hedge for, you're trying to hit $1 million in 10 months, right? So that you have some buffer time and you work harder to make sure you hit those goals and make it work versus hoping that you're going to get there in 12 months. Let's make it happen in 10.
Yeah, and a resource I think that we're going to put below this video is our revenue calculator that we use for goal setting for the new year. So for instance, when we do business diagnostics, you need to know what sort of numbers you're working with within your business in order to reverse engineer your goals. So, Jimmy's saying, how many estimates do you need to do a week? How many of those do you need to close and stuff like that? Well, guess what? You knowing your close rate is required for any sort of goals like that we're trying to hit here. So, yeah, no, for sure. And, don't get underestimated in terms of, what you can do in a year here too, guys. I mean, this is a long time that we're talking about, a year. And don't get me wrong, super easy to say at this point that 2025 is breezed by.
Yeah.
But, still a year of time. Everybody had 365 days to accomplish, whatever they needed to accomplish. So keeping those timelines in mind is super important. What do you think, besides revenue goals, if you were, a painting company, and you're maybe finally breaking through that first level there, finally start doing 25, 40, 60K a month, what do you think kind of those next goals on the horizon might be, Jimmy?
Yeah, great question. I think one of the big ones is even like who's next to hire, right? Who should I delegate stuff to next, right? And a lot of people we talk to, a lot of painters, remodelers, they're like, well, I'm not sure, right? They just have no idea. Like they kind of guess. And I would say like, if we work backwards, the estimator, sales team, whatever, that should be last, right? Because it's your business. You're always going to go one step ahead. Like you're just going to work a lot harder than someone else in the sales side, and you're good at it, right? But it's like, okay, well, a lot of these people hitting their million, like trying to get to that point, especially a lot of them are on the tools, right? They're just either they're out there with their crews, or maybe they're not painting, maybe they're not doing the work, but they're still managing, right? They're still doing the materials, like talking to clients, all these things, taking up all that time that they could be doing estimates or, building out another like team for the business, right? So it's like project manager. Okay, cool. What can they do for the business? Is that one of the things that makes sense to have a goal for in this new year? Right? Like it's just so much good time now, because guess what? A lot of people, especially in the new year, they're feeling pumped, right? It's like, oh, okay, I'm going to crush it this year. A lot of people, this is where the best of the best employees are going to look for new work, right? Or people that are like, hey, I'm stuck in this job, I hate it. This is the time to like look for those types of people to make sure you can bring on like a sick project manager to make sure you can take that time back and focus on higher revenue generating activities for yourself as an owner.
That's a really good point. I didn't actually piece that together. It's because we're in a low here. That also means that a lot of people with quality skills are also in a low here, so meaning that, if you can create some sort of vision now that you can get other people to fit into, come the warmer times, it's like, well, now your skills are going to be an all-time high. You're going to spend less time training people in terms of the skills that, are just baseline to the job in general. So yeah, absolutely start sourcing your talent now. I think that's such a great idea. And again, yeah, revenue goals, yeah, hiring goals. But guys, this is also your time to create a vision for your company. What is the brand? What differentiates you from the other people? I sit down with people all the time, where they're just complaining that they're like, they're just always going to go with the cheaper guy and stuff like that. But it's like, no, they're going the person that they think is going to provide the value for the cost in which that's justified.
100%.
Right?
100%.
I remember I went to a deck standing estimate one time, and it's a beautiful deck, basically brand new, a year old, and I think I was $400-$600 more expensive than everybody else. There's 3 other quotes in line. I went last because that's what good contractors do. And I noticed on the side of their brick that they had, you remember like those old like milk doors?
Yeah, on the side.
Yeah, on old houses. They, where the milkman used to go put the milk and stuff like that. And this thing looked disgusting, but the whole house was like completely renovated, like they did brand new siding, everything. And I said, hey, I just noticed that, this milk door looks like crud. So I'm in this estimate here. I just want to let you know that we're going to repaint that. And that was kind of the difference. And, one of our company values was just to be taking care of people better than anybody else. And that was what kind of got the estimate for you. So yes, you're creating a vision in terms of what do you want your company to stand for, but by standing for more, you're also going to get more.
I love it. Yeah, like you just took care of them more than the typical contractor, right? Mm-hmm. How many contractors walked by that and was just like, well, they didn't talk about it during the call, or if they even did a call, and they just went, gave a price on exactly what the client said, and it's like, you just did the minimum. So not surprised, right? Like they're a dime a dozen. So, and I want to circle back to like even like a project manager. When you found your project manager, like what was kind of that process to, really find someone that was really good? And we can start there.
Yeah, I mean, best way to promote, and maybe I'll be proved wrong in the future. I don't know. I totally believe it's internal. And I think it's that way because you haven't necessarily trialed them for the job in which that you're looking to hire them for, but you've trialed them as a person. So you know what you're getting yourself into when we're talking about promotions here. So I think like the baseline, not even necessarily skill set, but character set is like, okay, who's going above and beyond? Who's not complaining about hours? Who's doing the project till they think it's good rather than hoping that I don't see little mistakes? It's like all of these little things that, again, if you're missing one of those, if you're missing two of those, but guess what? They all add up. So you're looking at every single little character trait that they have. When I found my project manager, again, painter. Painter to start. Who are you? Having that even conversation before, I offer them a promotion. Is this something you're interested in? By the way, I've talked to people before. Hey, are you, interested in, some sort of like managerial? Nope. Okay, cool. Like that's also totally okay because, now if I'm banking on XYZ person to, be promoted in this company because I really like them as a human being, their work, whatever. But I haven't had that conversation in terms of, is this something that you even want? It's like, okay, well, then that's kind of lost right there. So, I mean, take a look at the inventory of your company, see who's kind of surpassing everybody. And at the same time, don't rush it. Don't rush it at all. It's in the same way that you don't, when you're looking for a partner, you don't just go to a bar and go up to the first girl that you see and say, hey, want to get married? It's the exact same thing. It's like there is a vetting process to all of this. This is, and in the exact same fashion, this is a long-term commitment.
Yeah, what a great point, man. And honestly, the biggest thing I've ever taken away from this, tying this in, is like, you just can't force it. Like, if they tell you, if they're uncertain that they want it, and if you bring them on and they're like, maybe like a 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10, they're like, yeah, I kind of want it, like that type of language, and you bring them on, don't be surprised when they just clock in 9 to 5, they do the bare minimum, they make excuses, all this stuff, and yeah, don't be surprised that those things come up if they're not 100% 10 out of 10 in for that role, right? The path reveals itself. Right, and then it's like no one else to blame except yourself because they literally told you these things to do so, to like not actually want it that bad, and you still took it on. Yeah, nobody else to blame except yourself. Now on the other side, there's like, what are the characteristics, traits, and to keep it simple, it's like a lot of times your clients will talk about it. It's like, wow, like Jacob was just so good, like he went above and beyond. He kept us in the loop and all these things. There's always that one employee that always goes above and beyond, and typically you'll see them in the reviews a lot. If you, the clients always talk about them. They always want to stay late. They want to do these things. They're like, hey, like how can I help you, Jimmy? And it's like, oh, cool. And then you kind of like, when you pitch them that idea of just potentially, hey, looking for a project manager. And it's like, they're like, yeah, like I would love that. Like I would love to be able to help like even more. And like, yeah, no, I'm 10 out of 10. Like just that certainty question. And even just like putting it out there, hey, it's going to be hard, right? You're going to be managing multiple crews. You're going to be driving around, and you're kind of like trying to scare them away from it. But if you scare them away from it, telling them how hard it is going to be, these hours, all these things, and they're still like, no, I am so bought in, that's how you know you found a good one.
I really like the idea too of giving them some tasks outside of work that they don't get paid for in terms of like personal development. Like for instance, like before I brought my PM on, I'm like, hey, read this book. So, you know, hey, you know, I really want to consider you, you know, for this position. Read this book. And I don't feel bad doing that because, you know, when we're talking about like personal development and stuff like that, it's like they're getting a lot more out of their time than, you know, just a possible promotion. It was, you know, specifically how to win friends and influence people. I think that should be a prerequisite for any sort of managerial position. But it's like, okay, so now they're willing to go above and beyond at work. They're willing to do things outside of work to better themselves. You know, they've shown interest in the company. They've shown interest in the position. You know who they are already. How could you go wrong? And don't get me wrong, you still could go wrong, for sure.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like you really gave every opportunity you possibly could to make sure that they're at least going to be a decent person for the position.
100%. And everything is always like obvious afterwards. And it's like, if you're going to train them, you better train them as a leader. Something I hear a lot is like, oh, what if I train them so well that they end up leaving? It's like, that's fine, right? Like that's the whole, it's like, what, you're going to hold back on training them to be a really awesome person in the business, leader, things like that. And it's like, hey, if they leave, all good. You know how to do this now in a process. You can find somebody else, right? The ocean's vast. There's so many good people out there. And it's like, why think that way? It's like, oh, what if they leave? What if, it's like, bro, what if they don't? How could that actually flourish your business? And if you bring in the right person and you train them like this, yeah, you might go through somebody. They might be like, oh, I'm just going to go do this on my own. Or, you know, they might, right? And that's fine. Or you can find somebody else. But then it's like, well, if they don't leave, wow, like what an awesome leader you have in your business. I would take that risk every single time. It's not even a risk, I don't think.
It's a risk of sorts, for sure. But, you know, it's all risks when it comes to business, right? You know, and it's keeping in mind that risks are a prerequisite of business, and risk isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's just choosing the correct risks to take. I think something important when it comes to hiring production managers as well is just making sure your comp package is just actually good for them. And, you know, this can be profit sharing. Hell, this could be equity down the line. But having some sort of roadmap in terms of not just like what you're getting paid right now, but, you know, what we can do for you in the future, that's so important. Because if the waters look murky at all, well, that's uncertainty. Yeah. Uncertainty comes with looking for places that might look a little more certain.
Great point. Yeah, like if they don't know where your business's vision is or where it's going, what your goals are, yeah, like it's so hard for someone to get bought in when it's not clear to even them, right? Because when humans don't have a purpose, it's really hard for them to continue just showing up like for it, right? I think a clear vision, clear process is just so important. And on top of that too, like I see a lot of times like when people bring on like a project manager, they just kind of just like, hey, here you go, fix my business. It's like, that's not the point, right? It's like you're gonna scare off like great people that could have been leaders in your business. It's like, hey, spend some extra time training them, right? You brought on a sick person after just going through like so many applicants, right? Are you spending at least like a few days, a week with them to make sure they know exactly what the process of like even opening a job, closing a job, like talking to the clients. Have they seen you do it, right? And then have you slowly let the reins off so they can take care of it? Or are you kind of just throwing them into the water, which sometimes isn't the worst thing, but like if you have a process in place, they can just follow every single time. They'll just have a better time, they'll get better at it, and typically when you get better at something, you typically like it more, right? So what's your process look like?
Yep.
I think it's just so important.
Yeah. I think something to keep in mind too is by the time someone becomes a production manager, they almost should already be doing everything that a production manager is already going to be doing. So for instance, like, you know, my production manager was already a crew chief, meaning they were already picking up payments, they were already opening up jobs, they were already dealing with quote unquote client complaints, and they're doing it within their crew. So now the pitch is, hey, do you want to do this for everyone else, but you're already doing it? You know, and like this podcast, you know, off the tools, that's the goal for the PM too. Let's put that out there. That took me about a year to muster as well, because it's so easy to say, okay, the PM's not really doing anything, get on the job and paint. And like, don't get me wrong, sometimes that's warranted, and you know, they just need to do it. You know, fix this, fix that, whatever. But ideally, their leadership skills should be so high that they're able to delegate just like you can, so they can see that overarching vision just like you can. And then that way, they're more of a clone of you than they are just another one of the painters.
Oh.
And that's the dream.
Absolutely, man. 100%. It's like when they're taking care of the crews, yeah, like of course sometimes they'll have to jump in, but it's like if you want everything to be as efficient as possible, they take on all the things that basically is not painting, right? Like you want your painters to be efficient, great. Give them as much painting time as possible so your PM can take care of other things, right? Opening, closing jobs. Now that you have a PM, you don't need the painters doing that. They can just get right to it, start masking things off, and start into the project sooner, right? While your PM takes care of the other things as well. But yeah, anytime they need to get like more paint, for example, yeah, you don't need the painter to go anymore. Like you have, not even yourself, but also the PM, right? They get notified like a few hours before, hey, we're on our last gallon. Perfect. PM goes and brings in the new gallon or brings in the new paint, goes checks on the other crews. So if you have that system in place, you never have to worry about the PM not having anything to do.
Yeah, the top things like the PM should be looking for is quality control, morale, directions, planning, being set up for the job, client communication. Notice how being and doing the work isn't on that actual list, right? Because all of these things, just like how when you're doing estimating instead of production, are larger revenue generating activities. When it comes to those things, those are revenue efficiency activities, right? Because now they're streamlining the process. The painter isn't going out and having a 45-minute conversation with the person at the paint store, whatever it is. And they can just work, PM can just manage.
100%. I know we're like finishing up here, but I think like even going back to like goal setting, giving just a quick example so that you guys can just copy this, right? Let's use like $1 million as your main goal for next year, right? So like I said, if you take $1 million and instead of dividing it by 12 months, right, hedging it for 10, cool. Now you have to do 100K per month for 10 months. Now, not only that, you should also hedge, like add another 25% on that, right? So you should be really aiming for like 125K a month, right? So that there's always going to be stuff that comes up, and just making sure that those things are, you know, planned ahead, right? So cool. Now you're aiming your 125K into like your goal for your month. Great. Now figure out what your average job size is. Let's use like 5K for example. So divided by 5K, you need to book 25 jobs, right? No one here ever has 100% closing rate, right? That's just, if you have 100%, then there's something's off. We got to take a look at that. But then from there, you can figure out your close rate. So from all the jobs you've done last year, all the estimates, how many estimates have you done? How many have you closed? So if you're, let's say, your close rate is at 60%, for example. Cool. Take your 25 jobs you need to book, divide it by 0.6. That's 41 estimates. Right? You need to do 41 estimates to make sure you book 25 with a 60% close rate. Cool. And now you just got to figure out like what other avenues, how many leads you need to make sure you get those many estimates per month. And you should be tracking this. You should be tracking all these numbers throughout the whole year, every week, every month. So you can figure out eventually, hey, from like Facebook ads, Google ads, maybe door to door, next door neighbor marketing, referrals. Cool. How many leads did it take to get you to, let's say 41, 42 estimates? And now you have an actual system in place that you just know exactly how to get there, right? So just as an idea for anyone out there trying to kind of struggling, keep it simple. And you can, this is what we did in our business, right? But from there, it's not like, hey, you set it and forget it. You should have this in a Google Sheet or like something you go back to every single week, every single month. Did you hit 40 a month divided by 4? Did you hit your 10 estimates every single week and book like at least 60% of them? If not, you should tweak that and see like what's going on. Is it the objections? Are you not getting enough leads to actually get to the like 10 a week, 40 a month? And like keep it simple. If you don't know any of this stuff, take all your numbers and throw it into ChatGPT. Right? Have it help you build that out so that you know and you can check in. And great, it has its memory on. You can literally just check in with it every single month and build that out. Right? Now you actually have a plan and you're not just guessing and saying, hey, I want to hit 100K a month or $1 million for the year. But it's like if you're not looking at your numbers and tracking everything, you're just hoping you're going to hit $1 million. Anything else to add to that, Josh? I try to keep it as simple as possible.
No, I mean, I think you nailed it. End of day, it's like when I was in school, I remember always thinking, why the hell am I learning math? And then we got into business and it's like, this is why you've learned math. And this isn't super difficult to kind of figure out, especially with AI and this whole thing. But as long as you have some sort of an idea of, what you're closing, how many estimates, how many jobs you need per month, there's like 4 metrics at all times when it comes to revenue that you need to be just knowing like the back of your hand. And just so you know, guys, this is also what we do over here, right? We do business diagnostics, with tons of companies where it's like we try and figure out a game plan in terms of, okay, how many leads do we need? How many estimates do we need to do a month? How many estimates do we need to do a week? How many jobs do we need to have a month? Because if you don't have clarity in terms of where you're going, you're going to just end up in a random field somewhere in Idaho. Nothing against Idaho, but a random place, right? With that being said, if you guys want to see what it might look like to have that happen for you, we'll have some links down below that you can click. That revenue calculator, I think, more than happy to share that with you guys too, so you guys have some sort of clarity in terms of some direction. I think you guys would find that, with us kind of going through that with you, we'll be able to provide a little bit more insights than, maybe just what you might get out of the numbers. That being said, appreciate every single one of you guys listening. Let's crush out 2026. It's going to be like no other. Unleash the beast inside of you guys. You guys got this. And I guess we'll see you guys in the next.
Let's go. Happy holidays and let's keep crushing. Cheers.
Cheers.